Gluten-free should be the simplest label in the aisle. If you need to avoid gluten, you're buying safety, not a vibe. But Australian recall notices in 2025 and 2026 show the same problem popping up again and again. Products sold with gluten or wheat not properly declared, and even one case where the gluten-free claim itself was wrong. Today we're counting down 7 gluten-free buys that should not be default picks, all backed by official recall records. Then we'll finish with 3 better options that hold up much better when you check independent reviews and established endorsement programs. Let's start at number 7 and work up to the one that's the easiest to trust and the easiest to get burned by. Number 7, Super Pop Pty Limited, Movie Time Popcorn plus Fizz Pop Sours, 110 grams. This one is a perfect example of why "it's just popcorn" is not a safe assumption. Food Standards Australia-New Zealand published a recall on 7th March 2025 because of an undeclared allergen, gluten. The notice spells it out clearly. People with a gluten allergy or intolerance could react if it's consumed, and the advice is the standard recall advice. Don't eat it, return it for a refund. Now here's what makes this extra annoying in real life. Popcorn is exactly the kind of snack many gluten-free shoppers grab without overthinking it. And that's the trap. When gluten is missing from the declaration, you're not choosing to take a risk, you're being forced into it. This is also where the allergen rules matter, because gluten has to be declared when present. And the whole point of the labelling system is that you can trust it without needing a chemistry degree in the supermarket aisle. Practical move if you ever bought this type of snack during that window. Check the recall notice for the listed best before dates and match it to what's in the pantry. And more generally, for novelty snack mashups like this, treat them as read the ingredient list every time foods. New flavours and new batches are where label errors and reformulations love to hide. Number 6. Samyang, Petal D, Orgumja, and Orgumja BBQ. This one isn't about a product shouting gluten-free on the front. It's about a product category where many shoppers assume wheat won't be involved. On the FSANZ recall alerts list, a Samyang recall published 23rd July 2025 flags undeclared allergens, including wheat, in certain products sold in whey. Wheat is one of the key gluten sources people are trying to avoid, and undeclared wheat is exactly the kind of risk gluten-free shoppers can't afford to guess about. Why include this in a gluten-free video? Because for a lot of people, gluten-free shopping isn't only buying specialty products, it's also building a safe routine around everyday snacks. When a label fails at the allergen line, the routine breaks. Australia's allergen labelling framework is built around declaration, so consumers can make informed choices. And these recalls show that occasionally, even mainstream imports can miss that mark. Shopper move here is simple and boring, but it works. If a product is imported and it's a processed snack with seasonings, treat it as higher risk than plain single ingredient foods. Flip it over, look for allergen statements, and if it ever tastes different from the last bag, don't assume it's just seasoning variants. Reformulation is real, and the label is supposed to keep up. Number 5. Aldi stores. Mamiya Organic Baby Puffs, 12 grams. Apple and cinnamon, blueberry, and carrot flavours. This is where the stakes go up, because it involves baby and toddler foods that parents often buy as simple, low-mess snacks. FSANZ published a recall on 22nd August 2025 for these products, due to an undeclared allergen, gluten. The notice is straightforward. Don't consume if you have a gluten allergy or intolerance. Return for a refund. Even if your household isn't strictly gluten-free, this still matters, because allergen labelling is how families manage risk, especially for kids with diagnosed intolerances or families still working through symptoms. And for households that are strictly gluten-free, a Puffs product is exactly the kind of thing you want to be able to trust without second-guessing every bite. One important context point. In NSW Food Authority guidance on gluten-free claims, they emphasise that gluten-free claims are only allowed when the food has no detectable gluten. And they also note the allergen labelling changes are in a transition period that runs to 26 February 2026. That transition is meant to improve clarity, but it doesn't change the reality that undeclared gluten in a snack is still a serious failure for people who rely on that label. If you're shopping for kids and you need gluten-free, the safest routine is to build a trusted list and then still do quick label checks when packaging changes. New graphics and new look redesigns are often when errors slip through. Number 4. Galaxy Import and Export Pret Limited, Yunnan Rice Vermicelli. Rice vermicelli is one of the most common, safe by default staples in gluten-free kitchens, which is exactly why this recall deserves a spot on the list. FSANZ published a recall on the 17th of November 2025 because of an undeclared allergen, gluten, for Yunnan rice vermicelli sold through Asian grocers in VIC, NSW, and the ACT. This is the nightmare scenario for gluten-free shoppers, not because noodles are inherently risky, but because rice vermicelli is often treated as a reliable swap for wheat noodles. If gluten ends up present and not declared, you don't get to manage your risk, you only find out the hard way. And the FSANZ notice uses the same clear hazard wording: consumers with a gluten allergy or intolerance may react. Here's the practical takeaway that saves people a lot of grief. In the gluten-free world, rice-based doesn't automatically mean safe. It usually is, but not always. Your safety comes from the label, the allergen statement, and the track record. When you buy from smaller import channels, take 10 seconds and look for a clear allergen declaration and an Australian importer identity. If the labelling looks vague or inconsistent between packets, skip it. There are plenty of rice noodle options in Australia, and you don't need to gamble on the one with the weakest labelling. Quick pause. If you're finding this breakdown useful and you're still with us, drop a comment with the number 4 so we know you're here. And if this is your first time watching, subscribe and hit the notification bell. It genuinely helps us keep making fact-checked, Australia-specific guides like this. Alright, back to it. Number 3. Muscle Nation Supplements Pret Limited, Custard Protein Bar Cookies and Cream, 60 grams. This one is sneaky because it's not a contamination story. It's a labelling story. And labelling is everything for gluten-free shoppers. FSANZ published this recall on 30 October 2025. And the key detail is that the recall applies to products stocked in an outer display box carrying a gluten-free claim that was not correct. FSANZ states the bars themselves had correct labelling, but the outer display packaging is what created the risk. The product was sold through major retailers nationally and also online. Why does that matter? Because a lot of shoppers make fast decisions based on shelf-ready packaging. If the display box says gluten-free, plenty of people will trust it, especially in a busy aisle, especially if they're comparing multiple snack bars quickly. But the official record shows that in this case, that shortcut could mislead people who rely on that claim for health reasons. And this connects directly to the broader rules around allergens and gluten-free claims. NSW Food Authority guidance is blunt about it. Gluten-free claims are only allowed when gluten is not detectable. And that's the standard shoppers assume brands are meeting when they print those words. If you buy snack bars because they're convenient, the safest habit is this: never rely on a shelf tag or out-of-box claim alone. Check the wrapper on the individual unit. It's not fair that consumers have to do that. But this recall is proof that sometimes it's the only way to protect yourself. Number 2. Taj Indian Foods. PTYLTD, Lata's kitchen flour, atta, with multigrains, 4 kilograms, labelled gluten-free, wheat-free. This is one of the clearest examples of a gluten-free label failing at the most basic promise. FSANZ published a recall on the 23rd of September 2025, specifically due to labelling incorrect gluten-free claim for this product sold in Victoria and Tasmania. Let's slow down on why this is such a big deal. Flour is not a sometimes food in gluten-free cooking. It's a foundation ingredient. When a flour product carries a gluten-free claim, isn't a marketing nice to have. It's a safety statement. And FSANZ recall notices exist for a reason. They're the official signal that something crossed a line serious enough to warrant removing product from sale and advising consumers to stop using it. This is also where the definition of gluten-free matters in practice. NSW Food Authority guidance says gluten-free claims are only permitted when gluten is not detectable. That's a high bar, and it has to be, because gluten-free shoppers don't have a small amount is fine option. If you shop at specialty grocers for gluten-free staples, take this as a reminder to treat gluten-free claims like you'd treat medication labels, not like you'd treat flavour claims. And when you see multigrain flour with bold gluten-free, wheat-free wording, that's exactly the type of product you should cross-check against official recall notices from time to time, because the downside risk is so high. Number 1. Luposaurus, Pty Limited, trading as Lupin Gold. Lupin Gold 100% lupin protein isolate, 350 grams and 600 grams. This one lands at number 1 because it hits the exact audience that trusts clean ingredient positioning. Protein isolates are often bought by people trying to simplify their diet, manage intolerances, or avoid common triggers. And yet, FSANZ published a recall on 30 January 2026 for these products because of an undeclared allergen, gluten, sold online nationally. The FSANZ notice uses the standard hazard language. Consumers with a gluten allergy or intolerance may react, and the advice is clear: don't consume, return for a refund, seek medical advice if concerned. Why is this the most frustrating kind of recall? Because 100% protein isolate signals purity to a lot of buyers. It's the kind of product many gluten-free consumers would trust as a safe add-in, especially if it's being used in smoothies, baking, or homemade snacks. But the official record shows that in this case, gluten still showed up as an undeclared allergen. This is the bigger lesson. Gluten-free safety doesn't come from the vibe of the product. It comes from verified compliance and correct allergen declaration. Australia's allergen labelling rules are designed so you can trust the label, but recalls like this prove that occasionally, the system still needs consumers to stay alert. If you buy supplements or functional powders and you need gluten-free, treat online-only products as extra verify. Look for clear allergen statements, clear Australian supplier details, and don't assume that single ingredient automatically means no contamination risk. The only safe assumption is what's actually declared, and whether the brand's track record backs it up. Alright, now that we've covered what to avoid based on official recall evidence, let's talk about 3 better options, where the proof is stronger and the signals are clearer. First better pick, Orgran, especially their Orgran all-purpose plain flour. This is a practical choice because it's a true staple. You can use it for thickening, baking, and everyday cooking, and it's not trying to be a novelty product. The key evidence point here is that Orgran all-purpose plain flour is listed in Coeliac Australia's endorsed products directory. including distribution across multiple Australian states. That endorsement system exists specifically to help people identify safer gluten-free choices. And if you want to understand what endorsed means in practice, Coeliac Australia's endorsement program describes licensing the endorsement trademark on approved product packaging, along with formal endorsement documentation and listing in their directory. That's not the same thing as a government recall notice, but it's a meaningful quality signal for gluten-free shoppers choosing everyday staples. Best way to use this pick is simple. Make it your default flour base, then layer in specialty flours, only when a recipe truly needs them. In gluten-free cooking, consistency beats novelty most of the time. Second better pick, Coles gluten-free white bread. Bread is where gluten-free shoppers often get punished with high prices and low quality, so it's worth using independent comparisons when you can. In Choice's product review for Coles gluten-free white bread, it shows a Choice expert rating of 77%, plus a listed price point and health star rating on the review page. That kind of independent scoring is exactly what you want when you're deciding what becomes your weekly default. This doesn't mean every product in every gluten-free range is automatically perfect, but it's a better starting point than guessing based on packaging promises. If you're using gluten-free bread mainly for toast and sandwiches, choosing a product with a stronger independent rating is one of the easiest upgrades you can make without changing your whole routine. Third better pick, Pana Organic, a brand example of using endorsement signals for packaged treats. Gluten-free shoppers still want snack foods and dessert options, but treats are also where cross-contact and ingredient complexity can spike. Coeliac Australia's endorsed products list includes brands such as Pana Organic, and the endorsement program is designed to give consumers a clearer shortlist of products and brands that have gone through that endorsement pathway. The way to use this pick is not buy everything from one brand. It's smarter than that. Use endorsement signals for the categories where labels are most complex, like chocolates, snack bars, and packaged desserts. And keep your staples anchored in products with clear track records and clear labelling. Endorsement is not magic, but it's a better filter than vibes, especially when official recall records show how often labelling can fail in the real world. So there you have it, 7 gluten-free buys to avoid as default picks, backed by official FSANZ recall records from 2025 and 2026. And 3 better options with stronger independent and endorsement-based signals behind them. These companies count on shoppers being rushed, but the facts are public, the recall notices are searchable, and the labelling rules exist, so you can make safe choices without guessing. If you need gluten-free for health reasons, you deserve products that treat that requirement like safety, not like a marketing line. Now, over to you. Have you bought any of the recalled products we covered? Or have you seen other gluten-free labelling issues in Australia that we should dig into next? If this video helped, hit like so YouTube shows it to more people who need Australia-specific, evidence-backed shopping guides. Subscribe for more, and drop a comment with your own experiences so others can shop smarter too. Thanks for watching. Shop smart with the facts, and we'll see you in the next one.